This episode is brought to you by Focusrite, the interface company who makes interfaces for recording podcasts, music, or any audio. I started my journey with Focusrite and this podcast in March of 2016. Over 120 episodes later, I can genuinely say that my life and business have completely changed in very public and verifiable ways. In addition to having interviewed company founders, CEOs, New York Times bestselling authors, TEDx speakers, and even celebrity athletes, I got sponsored, signed by a premier talent agency, became a keynote speaker, and now I'm building a training and development company that serves the industry I come from. Focusrite products produce amazing sound quality, are easy to use, and are a great fit for new and experienced podcasters alike. The Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 and 18i8 have been my primary tools that have allowed me to build a platform, a personal brand, and now a business through content creation. So if you're a new podcaster looking to start a show or an experienced podcaster looking to upgrade your sound quality, I recommend you check out Focusrite at focusrite.com. That's FOCUSRITE.com. What's happening, everyone, and welcome back to the Pathways to Success podcast. Today in studio, I have Brice McBeth, who is the founder of Reap Marketing and the author of the book, Salon Chairs Don't Sell Themselves. Brice, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks.
How are you, man?
Me. This is a lot of fun. Thank you.
Good to see you. And shout out to Kevin, who created this introduction. Kevin, what's happening in our live studio audience today? So Brice, just so our audience has a little bit of context, like when you first meet people for the first time, like where do you start? How do you tell your story?
Well, it's, I guess the way I've encapsulated it is by saying I've created an agency that is the only agency that hired itself to build a second company that optimized its own conversions by over 950%. So there's a lot of like touch points there where people can kind of grab onto different aspects of that statement, and so based on what they're most interested in, what most resonates with them, and kind of dig in from there. So,
what is your background though? Do you have like a corporate background or no? Or
yeah, absolutely. So I started my career as an intern for IBM, working for a small startup within IBM. We developed and concepted the first web analytics software as a service. So this is back in the 1900s. You remember that?
You're right. Yeah.
So it was sort of the precursor to what became Google Analytics.
Okay.
And so we came up with a lot of the nomenclature that's still used today between page views, sessions, visits, and a lot of the other tracking terms that we use for web behavior analytics. So anyway, once we became a big group within IBM, it became less fun because things started to slow down a little bit, right? So decided to leave and try my hand on the client side. Found that there was this missing piece in the agency world. Managed all these agencies and freelancers and in-house talent, and they're all great at what they did, but there's really just this missing piece. There's no agency that really understood my job and what I was accountable for, which was turning web traffic into money.
Right? Yeah, gotcha.
So,
okay.
So we did all this great job of creating great brands and creating a lot of traffic and buzz and exposure, a lot of likes and follows, but I couldn't prove that it actually turned into paying clients.
Yeah.
So left to start Reap, and we focus on conversion rate optimization and marketing optimization to help clients do more with the traffic that's already on their website.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So who are you kind of the best fit for? Do you work with a particular kind of client, or tell me about that?
Yeah, it's really hard because I want to say everybody. It's not really the best answer, but I'd say we have the most impact on large companies that already have a substantial amount of traffic on their site already.
Gotcha.
If I can take a big company that has millions of visitors on their site and increase their conversion rate by 1/10%, somebody's making $1 million, right?
Yeah.
If you do that for a smaller site that only has 100 visitors, per month, then it really has very minimal impact. But what I feel like where we're best at is, e-commerce sites, because it's so marvelously measurable. It's easy to close the loop and say you spent $1 on X and got $10 or $20 or whatever the outcome is. It gets a little bit harder with other industries where it turns into a lead. Certainly can do a lot of our optimization work around turning more traffic into leads, but then if there's not really a good way to track what happens on the sales side, it becomes more difficult and a little bit more difficult to understand. But with that said, really what we do and how we do it applies to any website that has a purpose.
Okay.
So if the purpose is generating email addresses or generating likes or generating followers, generating email subscriptions, did I already say that? Sales, leads, whatever the purpose is, as long as there's a purpose that's measurable, we can help drive that. So we have found that we work really well with small and mid-sized businesses, business between $50 and $150 million a year in revenue. We find that in those situations, there's fewer people in charge.
That's what I was talking about. Pretty distracting, right? Yeah.
Cool. Did you get that on tape? Cool.
So you're talking about the optimization piece and kind of like what you discovered in terms of like how to. So I have a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners tap into the podcast, and this would be really useful information. So give us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So for small businesses and startups, what we find is there's fewer people in charge, right? So if there's a guy and he has something at stake, then they're a lot more agile to get things done a lot faster and eager to experiment and try new things because there's a greater upside for fewer people. So there's a lot less red tape. So we find that really for these smaller businesses and startups, what we end up focusing on is ideas that can exponentially grow their conversions. We're not looking for like small wins, we're looking for really big wins. So for startups, we find that a lot of times they're doing what they think is good to help increase their brand, make people aware they exist, but in reality, they're looking for their first customer or their second customer or their next 100 customers.
Yeah.
So a lot of times the simplest of changes can make a huge impact on their bottom line. So
what are you kind of looking at first? Like, what are some guiding principles to make X percentage of conversion that much better? Like, what do you look for?
Yeah, so it's really easy when you talk about conversion rate optimization. A lot of times the example that we use to sort of frame the type of experimentation we do is around testing colors of buttons, right?
Colors of buttons?
Colors of buttons and what the buttons say. Does it say submit, or does it say get information or download now? Is the button red or green? Is it above the fold or below the fold?
Yeah.
What images people are using. What I find is that the color of button, while it's easy to get our head around and we can visualize that and agree that that's what we're going to test, right? It's really easy to do. But I found that if the customer, the visitor wants what you have and you're the only place to get it, then they will figure out where the button is.
Right?
It's 2018? Is it still 2018?
It is, yeah.
It's still 2018, right. So by now, we know how to use websites on the internet, right?
Yeah, right.
So if you want what a company has, you'll figure out where the button is. So what I'm looking for these bigger impact items is this level of exclusivity. What do you have that nobody else can offer?
Interesting.
So if you think about an Amazon, right? Not the most beautiful website on the planet, not the easiest to use website, I would argue, not the easiest to use website.
Yeah.
And they don't have products that are exclusive to, well, they do have products that are exclusive to Amazon, but most of their products are not exclusive to Amazon.
Yeah.
But why do you buy from Amazon? Well, because the exclusivity you get from Amazon is exactly when you're going to get it. You know that they are going to take care of you, and you're not going to get mowed over by a price that's way too high. So it may not be the lowest, but it's going to be in check, right? So that assurance you get is unlike what you get from other websites, unless there are other websites within a niche that do a good job with it. So we're really, I think, to go back to answer your question, we're looking for, for these big gains, how can we create an element of exclusivity that either the product is unlike any other product available somewhere else, or the service, or the way it's delivered is unlike anything you'll get anywhere else. So the visitor gets this sense that there's no sense in even going somewhere else to look for this. They have found exactly what resonates with them. So to find that, we approach it through what we call our 4 pillars of optimization. So a lot of optimizers will look at analytics. Obviously, that'll tell you where things are broken, right? But it doesn't tell you. Analytics doesn't tell you what might work if you try it, but you haven't tried it because you're not measuring it because it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist, yeah.
Right. So you have to have a mix of a bunch of brand new random ideas, and in the middle you've got best practices to lean on, which I find that sometimes you have to just throw best practices out the window and retest it.
Sure.
And then relying on our experiences with countless other clients, and it's really interesting because we'll find that pulling on another client from a different industry will give us amazing ideas. Even though they're seemingly unrelated, we'll get amazing ideas.
I believe that, yeah, for sure. Interesting. So you mentioned like buttons. So how much of it, when it comes to conversion, is like the layout and the user experience and interface versus, let's say, copy or images and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, both. So what you'll find is on the lower rung, so we have a concept called the conversion precedence framework, which kind of outlines how these different elements that you're talking about impact, user experience and ultimately conversions.
Yeah.
So as much as marketers obsess over user experience, it certainly is important. But that's kind of it's helping make the experience easier for someone. But like I said, it doesn't if you don't have what somebody wants, just having a beautiful design website, an easy to use website isn't going to convince somebody to buy something that they don't need from you, right? So we put that kind of the lowest scoring items. We certainly test within that range just to see what the impact is. The next level is creating mental clarity around what it is that you do and how you do it. Okay, so that's where a lot of the imagery and even a lot of the copy and headline writing comes into play. We'll find that a lot of times copywriting has a much bigger impact than colors and buttons and images.
Okay,
which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
And then at the top end of the spectrum is, like I said, things that do have to do with design and copywriting, but really the things that communicate, the level of exclusivity, number one, and then the believability in the company. So even if you found a website that you wanted to buy something on, but you went and did some research and found that they had 10,000 one-star Google reviews and no 5-star reviews.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be willing to buy from them, right?
Right.
So as much as we puke, product features and all this, like having the assurance that you're working with a company that's going to take care of you is a really big deal. I would argue a bigger deal than user experience or product clarity.
Interesting. Yeah, so that's actually a takeaway that I'm getting. There's a little bit more of a holistic approach that you're taking to this. It almost sounds like business strategy, not just like A/B testing.
Right.
Right. So that's really cool. So you talked about like the 4 pillars. I think you talked about one. What are those 4 that you go through?
The 4 pillars.
Yeah.
So it's analytics. So always having a place to go and the data to look to see what's happening, so you can plug the holes and fix what actually matters.
Yeah.
Then there's best practices. Then there is experiences. So relying on case studies. If you have your own case study, like for us, we have a library of hundreds of case studies that we pour through every time we have a new client and see if we can draw on ideas from other clients. And then the last pillar is random ideas. Just
random ideas.
That's where you get your true innovation, right?
Right. Yeah.
So otherwise, you're either borrowing from somebody else, or you're trying, like I said, sort of plugging a hole. If you find something in the data that says something's broken, random ideas really is where you get innovation and big breakthroughs.
Gotcha. So having served like all the clients that you have in the time that you've been doing this, like what do you think is the most common mistake people have when it comes to optimization?
I think it's number one, prioritization of their ideas.
Prioritization.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Prioritization, and again, just sort of falling in the trap of testing things that they can easily mentally picture, changing colors of buttons, changing pictures.
Yeah. Right.
And not really having a deeper purpose behind why they're testing buttons and pictures.
Gotcha.
And then the next thing I'd say is patience. It's really tough when you have a great idea and you know it's going to work. Having the patience and discipline to run through an experiment and prove it out or vet it out.
Yeah.
So the reality is, and you may already know this, is 60% of all A/B tests that are run industry-wide, this isn't just my number, 60% result in a failure, which means our new idea was worse than the original idea. So
that the test pointed you to.
What's that?
The new idea that what came from the A/B test, the one that it said that this is the positive you should go, that
usually doesn't work.
Right. So if your theory was, we need to change bottle rockets, brand colors to blue because people like blue better, and you knew it was going to work, you would put your whole salary on it. Okay. And we tested it. and We found that actually it tanked your conversions. You got fewer, leads to the tune of 50%.
Yeah.
We could prove statistically that idea was a good idea or is a bad idea. So most people, when they run through their test, they'll find that the new idea did not work as well as the originally designed website.
Yeah.
So if you're not testing or you're not experimenting in a controlled fashion where you can actually measure the outcomes of these ideas, then at best you're just treading water.
Yeah.
So it's really important to have the discipline and rigor to go through and prove it out one way or another.
Gotcha.
Having the discipline to wait through that when you have a backlog of hundreds of ideas can be really difficult.
Gotcha. So let's reverse the question. Like, is there one sort of thing that most websites should do to achieve kind of like a base hit of improving their optimization?
As funny as it sounds, it's I go back to the old adage, if you don't ask, you don't get. So it's amazing to see how many sites talk about themselves and how great they are, but they don't make it easy to engage in some sort of sales type of context. So offering a proposal or a quote, offering to get started somehow, to sign up. It's amazing. A lot of companies just feel like people will get in line to buy what you're selling if you don't ask, and it just doesn't work as well as asking.
Just the call to action?
Yep, call to action.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
So it's interesting, your story about how you got good at this, and it has something to do with selling salon chairs. Tell us a little bit about that story.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can even piece it all together here. Let me think about this. How did salon chairs find me? So I have a buddy of mine who owns the largest manufacturer of salon equipment in the United States.
Yeah.
So in my early days at REAP, I went to him and I said, hey, you should hire my agency. We're going to help you go direct to consumer, because he sells through distribution. So I said, you should hire me. I can help you go direct to consumer. We'll optimize your conversions. You'll be getting leads from distributors, and you'll be selling direct, and the world will be perfect. And so because he has such an established business through distribution, he didn't just say no, he said hell no. So I said, well, you have all these distributors. What's keeping me from being a distributor?
Yeah.
And just keeping the profit myself.
Sure.
And we'll still work together and be friends, but I'll be one of your distributors. And he said, you should do that. So it became a double dog dare.
Wow. Okay.
And you know how it goes. You can't turn down a double dog dare from one of your good friends. So it was easy to sort of commit to, and get an initial website going. But then once it became successful and started generating some sales, it really sort of disrupted the whole industry. And the industry is huge, by the way. There's 4 times as many salons in the United States than are gas stations.
That are gas stations?
No, there are 4 times as many salons
than there are gas stations.
Stations, yeah.
I would have never known that.
Okay, I'll top that one. So you count up all the beauty services related businesses like nails, tanning, massage, pedicure, stuff like that. There are 10 times as many more, beauty services related businesses than gas stations. So we really sort of, in a time when a lot of these furniture and equipment distributors weren't online or were online but not doing it well, it was really easy to sort of disrupt things and get a lot of attention. And that's kind of like where the story started.
Wait a minute. So is that a whole thing that you can just do? Is like go to these kind of like OEMs or equipment and help them go direct to consumer? That sounds like a big opportunity, right?
Yeah, I guess it depends on what's at stake.
It is. Yeah.
So a lot of unfortunately, I had a connection that was really easy to work with, but you don't always have that at some of these brands. So yeah, it can be yes, in theory, yes.
Yeah.
But it can be more difficult than that.
So as far as the book though, like what is it, what's the big kind of takeaways you think the audience would get from checking it out?
Yeah, so the takeaways, it kind of walks through the, what I call the 21 pitfalls that are preventing you from, more conversions. So especially for like startups and small businesses, we tend to, either copy other websites, which I actually think is a great idea, but it comes with its own baggage.
Yeah.
Or you're in a different category, which is you're going to completely reinvent or re-innovate or introduce this new concept with your brand and your website, which can be either the small percentage of those types of companies blow it out of the water, but most of them fail miserably, and I'd put myself in that same category. So the book walks through where we discovered on our path we messed up.
Yeah.
And or what ideas that we had that flopped, and how we fixed it. So all the little things that we tested and the takeaways that we had to change our mindset to really get better results.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. There's a tremendous amount of value in that.
Yeah, and it's easy to read. And it's basically like a coloring book. It's like full of a bunch of pictures and
that's my
color
style
by
of
number.
book.
It's a lot of fun.
So Brice, let's close with one last topic I know you're passionate about speaking on, which is startups and entrepreneurship. How do you want to start with that?
Yeah, so I just find that
Yeah.
Cheers.
Salute, yeah.
Cool. That'll throw things off.
It does, right? So startups and entrepreneurship, why are you passionate about this topic?
Yeah, I just find in working with all these this wide array of different businesses that the energy that comes in the startup world is there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
And I talked a little bit about somebody having something at stake. Somebody's got something at stake and they're willing to do something about it.
Yep.
So the willingness to kind of put the friction aside and get down to business and do what it takes to be successful is just really fun. And also find that you can help them think a little bit differently, and they're very gracious and thankful for introducing ideas that they're doing things that they heard that you're supposed to do, social media or SEO or whatever these different strategies are they're undertaking, because that's what you're supposed to do digital marketing these days.
Yeah.
And if you challenge the status quo and give them a new idea that's going to get them more clients, they're very receptive to it. And I find that to be a lot of fun to figure out what their unique angle is going to be instead of just checking the boxes.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, Brice, tell us how our audience can work with you, learn more about you, check out the book. Tell us all that.
Yeah, so a couple ways. So bricemcbeth.com is where you can order a copy of the book or download the ebook for free, so you can read the version digitally. Reap Marketing is our agency. You can go there to pick up on a lot of resources, get engaged with us, and schedule a time to actually talk to us about your website. And what we do is we like to offer an initial consult for free initially to kind of get the ball rolling. That way it does a couple things. Number one, we like just contributing and showing what we can do, and flexing our conversion rate optimization muscles. So we like to offer a free consult where we give you a handful of ideas to kind of get you started, and you can choose to either go do them yourself, or we can show you what it looks like to hire us to help you increase your own conversions.
Love it.
So
awesome. Yeah. Well, Brice, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, man. I appreciate it, man. I learned a lot, and we'll make sure to have all of Brice's information in the show notes as well. So thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Pathways to Success. As always, make sure to subscribe, comment, and share, and we'll see you next time on the next episode of the Pathways to Success.